Saint John is a mild-mannered refrigerator technician, but by night he becomes Mr. 80s Retro, making music with his synthesizers and drum machine. Gary is still back in the 1980s when it comes to music. He loves that throbbing electronic new wave synth pop sound so much that he's recorded 4 CDs of it. And his latest is called Future Fashion. It's being released by a California indie label. And Gary Flanagan joins us now in our studio. Hello, Gary.
Oh.
Welcome.
It's great to be here.
What is it about that 80s synth pop, techno beat sound that appeals to you so much?
Well, I think to put it simply, it's pretty much the type of music that I listened to growing up. I was exposed to it at a very, very early age. And I think that whole generation of people, my generation who grew up in the 80s, we were exposed to a lot of the new technology at the time. The Atari video games were all the rage at the time. This was when computer technology was just starting to blossom. Mm-hmm. And that had a real big impact on a lot of people, not just in terms of pastimes, but in terms of the type of music we listened to, the movies we watched, and everything. And so I guess in that sense, that music has always been a big favorite of mine. And I think, too, a lot of the music back then was very catchy, was very upbeat. There was a certain sense of positivity that ran through a lot of the pop music at the time, which I really like. And it was just all about fun, and I think that's very important. I think in a lot of today's music, the fun has been lost, and I'd like to try and bring that back.
With your synthesizers and drum
Yes.
machine and everything else. Well, liking it is one thing, and, enjoying, remembering the music from then. I mean, you grew up with it and everything,
Sure.
but how did that turn into actually producing it?
It's an interesting question because I have a very non-musical background. I've never had a music lesson in my life. I've had no formal training at all. So if you were to tell me years ago that I would one day be making music, I probably wouldn't have believed you. Over the course of time, I just got my hands on some good books. I listened to a lot of different music very analytically. And through the course of time, I learned a lot about music. And I eventually got my hands on some gear, some old synthesizers, and I built my own little bedroom studio, and I just started recording all these crazy songs in my bedroom, and started cranking out songs fast and furiously.
So how do you do this? I mean, the gear is all right there in your bedroom?
Pretty much, yeah. I have a couple of synthesizers and a drum machine and an echo machine, and I record on a simple cassette 4-track, and that's how it's done, basically. The new album, Future Fashion, was actually produced by a couple of gentlemen down in California who call themselves Ganymede. And they produced the music in their studio down in California, and I recorded the vocals in my bedroom in Quispamsis. And through the miracles of modern technology, the two elements were put together, and you get the CD.
How do you write it? Like, how do you come up with the, with the sound, with the tune, with the beat?
I've been writing ever since I was old enough to hold a pen. I started out writing short stories. I was always a kid with a really vivid imagination. I was always into science fiction and Star Wars and all that kind of thing, and I always wrote a lot, and I guess naturally that kind of progressed into songwriting. I started writing songs in my early 20s, and I guess writing has always come very naturally to me. Sure.
Well, musical tastes have changed since the 80s. How popular is this stuff today?
It's growing all the time. From what I've read and from what I've heard, it's getting extremely popular in the United States. There's a lot of different movements popping up over in Europe. It's extremely huge in Sweden and in Germany, actually. And it's kind of a dream of mine right now to do a little tour of Europe, maybe next year if I can get in touch with some promoters over there. I'd love to go over and do some shows. Performing live is a great passion of mine.
How much do you do of that?
Over the past year, I've done about, I think, half a dozen shows. I've played in Fredericton, Saint John, and Halifax. And actually, I have a show coming up here in Saint John on November the 23rd. It's going to be a CD release party, and that's going to be at UNB. And I love it. I have a strong background in theater, actually. So I draw upon that all the time whenever I get on stage to perform my music.
So when you're performing, obviously you're singing.
Yes.
And what is it, just you and the synthesizers and the drum machine?
It's pretty much, yeah, that's pretty much it. I keep it really simple. I believe simplicity is best. And I I maintain that doctrine in pretty much everything I do. When I write a song, when I perform, simplicity is at the forefront. And I've been told that I'm quite a showman. So when I get out there, I just really let go and have fun with it. I've been known to do the robot while I'm performing on stage. So
Okay. We're really going back into the 80s here, aren't we now? What's kind of a response do you get here in New Brunswick when you go out and do a show in the province?
I think a lot of people are shocked. What I do is quite atypical of your average band here in the Saint John area. Of course, with a lot of the young musicians, punk music is very popular, and what I do is very cheery and melodic and upbeat, and so a lot of people, I think, don't have any idea what to make of me sometimes. But yeah, for me, I keep things extremely positive, and if I can make people smile and if I can make people get up and dance.
I was going to say, I bet they're dancing.
Oh yeah. To me, that's the greatest compliment ever. If I can look out and into the audience and see some people dancing to my songs, that's just the greatest compliment. I know I've done my job.
Well, you can't help but dance when you hear this stuff, I wouldn't think.
Right.
So what are your hopes for the CD?
Well, I've been promoting it as much as I can. I've been getting it out there. From what I understand, it's being distributed all over Europe. It's being distributed throughout the United States, throughout Canada. I'm expecting some big things out of it. Actually, I'm quite happy because I was recently told that one of the songs off the CD is going to be appearing on a compilation being put out by a big label in the United States, and amongst other very popular and well-known artists in the scene. So I'm really excited about that.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, things are really taken off. After all these years of locking myself in my bedroom and nobody hearing my music, it just seems like all of a sudden things have really been clicking, and I couldn't be happier.
You're going to have to get a bigger bedroom for a bigger studio after all this. We have another song from the new CD. It's called All We Are. Tell me about this one. Yeah,
I wrote that song a few years ago. It's just a very catchy, danceable track. Again, I think it would be a good example of what I was talking about earlier, extremely positive and happy and upbeat.
We'll give it a listen right now. Gary, thanks for coming in. Good luck.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Gary Flanagan. His new CD is called Future Fashion. It's synth pop 80s style, and this is All We Are.